Texas has over 100 years of history in oil and gas production and continues to be the largest producer in the United States of America. Every morning, United Oil and Gas's pumpers head out to check and service each individual well, meters, flow lines, and tank batteries. The production manager is the key to a steady and optimized production. One of the daily duties of a production manager is to check every pump jack, grease its moving parts, and check fluid levels. Gas wells follow the same procedure unless they are free-flowing. In this case, the gas well has enough formation pressure to flow into the pipeline, which connects it to the buyer. These free-flowing wells require minimal maintenance. In this case, just an occasional cleanup. For this procedure, the well is being shut in, the excess pressure is vented, and soap sticks are being dropped into the tubing. All gas wells are connected to a gas meter, which measures the amount of gas being produced and its pressure. These results are summarized in the master meter and checked daily by the production manager. Oil wells flow into a separator which separates the oil from the water and then continues on into storage tanks. All of United's 4 producing oil fields are being gauged bi-weekly. A measuring line with a weight at the end is being lowered into the tank, and the filling level is recorded. Once the 210-barrel tank is full, the load is called in for pickup by a local purchasing company. Oil and gas exploration and production has been under the strict regulation of the Texas Railroad Commission for over 75 years. This government agency issues all permits and has the power to shut down non-compliant producers if need be. This long history of uncompromising regulation has allowed for a sustainable growth of a healthy cattle ranching and oil industry coexisting productively. United Oil and Gas continues to increase its production and reserves by acquiring new oil fields. To minimize risk, the company focuses on properties with a proven production record and solid geological fundamentals. It is important to understand that United Oil and Gas is not in the risky business of looking for new oil discoveries, but is strictly buying existing or formerly producing fields. Applying modern geology and geophysics to these old oil fields allows for maximizing production and reserves while minimizing exploration risk. A diligent evaluation of future properties and the application of modern technology are 2 fundamental keys to success. Nevertheless, they remain theoretical in nature without an experienced team to implement them. United Oil and Gas's team consists of seasoned petroleum engineers, geologists, and field professionals with a proven track record. The company focuses on its core competence, the development of oil fields and the management of its production and reserves. Contracting instead of buying heavy machinery allows United Oil and Gas to invest in cash-flowing production and not equipment. When developing an old oil field, each well's history is carefully analyzed and evaluated. The procedure to rework a well varies from simple pump changes to more complex recompletion methods. Sometimes the engineering team decides to produce a different formation, which means using the existing wellbore and perforating it at a different level. This procedure requires the engineer to carefully correlate the existing log with a gamma ray log, which is being produced by lowering a tool into the wellbore. Once the old and new logs are correlated, a predetermined section of the well's casing is perforated with explosive charges. The well is now recompleted in a new zone. The aforementioned recompletion is usually finished with a cleanup process called acid job, which helps the oil flow by cleaning up the debris, and scaling by dissolving them in acidic fluid, which is then pumped back to the surface and disposed. The well is now ready to be produced.
We're here at Frontier Texas in Abilene, a museum which documents the settlement of Texas, which started in 1821. Most of United Oil and Gas's operations are located in and around Shackelford County, which is famous for its military installation, Fort Griffin. The fort served as the starting point for many expeditions headed westward, and for a time it had a substantial settled community that built up around it. During that time, several notable characters and gunfighters of the Old West drifted through, including Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. For Texans, the 20th century did not begin on January 1st, 1901. It began 9 days later when the Lucas No. 1 well shot oil more than 100 feet into the air. As the search for the black gold expanded west, a first natural gas discovery in Shackelford County took place in 1910, and it would later be known as the Moran Field. Similarly, a prolific shallow oil discovery 6 miles northwest of Albany in 1926, known as the Cook Field, ended up producing over 30 million barrels of primary production. As primary production with traditional pump jacks might be nearing its end, only about 20% of the oil in place has been able to be produced this way, and 80% is still in the ground. Secondary recovery methods involve the injection of gas and water, which will displace the oil, force it to move from its resting place, and bring it to the surface. This is typically successful in targeting an additional 30% of the oil. At United Oil and Gas, secondary recovery is our primary tool to develop our oil fields. To minimize risk, we focus on properties with a proven production record and solid geological fundamentals. This means no costly exploration trying to find oil, but strictly buying existing or historically producing fields and applying secondary recovery techniques like engineered water floods. The application of modern geology and geophysics to these old and oft-times neglected oil fields allows for a substantial increase in production and reserves while minimizing exploration risk.